Hello, everybody, and welcome. So, we got a bunch of new stuff to go over again today. Just getting things brought up here. Wait for a few people to get in. Please smash that like on your way in. Let people know that we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Did I say morning? I probably did. I am still so tired. So we got a bunch of new things to go over. Some of you may know some of this stuff already, but there's a lot of new stuff that's coming out, and we are going to go over it because there's just like a lot of things are not making sense here, and I can't see why the police are still treating this as nothing foul play. It just doesn't make sense. So we now know who the fifth person was. His name is Alex Weimer Lee. We know the father, Rodney Willis. We're going to get into it all. What's being said. The girlfriend of Harrington, David Harrington, is speaking out. The families are speaking out. Jordan Willis's family is speaking out. It's the lawyer is like, oh, there's two lawyers involved now. Jordan's got a lawyer. Alex has got a lawyer. It's like, why does everybody need a lawyer if there's no foul play? Stay-at-home mom detective, good afternoon. Courtney, hello, hello. Nana, hello, Nana. Susie Q, good afternoon. Jennifer Fleming, hello, hello. Yes, please smash that like button on your way in. Okay, so I've got a bunch of things here in order. I'm just going to go through them because there's some stuff here that I've come across that I thought was kind of weird. Okay, Mitch. Hello, okay, Mitch. Okay, so the first article, let me just present this to you guys. I think we're just going to go this way. I don't know if I can do it with just the window. Let's just do entire screen so I can pop between them. And I'll make this bigger so you guys can all see. So let's talk about it. Cat H, hello, hello. Okay, so this first one, this is from the headline is top ex New York PD cop says rapidly unfolding details in bizarre case of three Chiefs fans found dead in frozen garden could lead local police to change their minds after insisting it is not a homicide. So this former cop says that the police could change their minds about the case not being a homicide investigation as a number of things don't quite add up, and we know that. A number of odd factors have come to light, including two cars the friends left there, unanswered messages, and the fifth friend, okay? The fifth friend we know now is Alex. His name is Alex. So there's a part here that I wanted to get to. Okay, right here. Everybody's saying, let's wait for the toxicology. Yes, I agree with that. But there's things that are coming out that we need to address as they're coming out. We know that the story keeps changing. This lawyer, I don't think, is doing Jordan any good. I think he's setting him up the river, really. People have said, let's wait for the toxicology, but they do have some other avenues. They have Mr. Willis, who is alive, and they have this fifth person, Alex, right? And then you have their electronics, and they're already asking for passwords. The story's been morphing. Willis's attorney claims he said goodbye to his friends. Okay, so we gotta keep listening to this, okay, to what is said, because it keeps changing. And I have found, going through hundreds of articles, and thank you, you guys, for sending them to me, hundreds of articles where he is saying different things to different people. Okay. Now, before we get into this, he says, Jordan said, look it, I sleep with earbuds in, listening to music, and I've got a huge fan that I have going when I go to sleep. Well, there's a problem with that I have, because as we're going to see right now, he says that he went upstairs to bed. Then they said that he fell asleep on the couch. So is he moving this box fan around with him? And if he is, why isn't he seeing that his friends' stuff is still all over the place, like their wallets and cell phones and a coat and whatnot, but the friends aren't there? Are you hauling your box fan and everything around with you when you go? It doesn't make sense, you guys. So let's get into this. Then he had said that he had gone to sleep and they had already left. Then he said they were there. Let's go over it. Willis' attorney claims he said goodbye to his friends, two of whom he'd known since high school, then crashed on the couch. Okay, let's think about that. If he crashed on the couch, he would have heard them banging at his door. He would have seen the girlfriend break into his house, and she would have seen him on the couch because she went around that house screaming for her boyfriend, like screaming out his name, right? She then went to the back, and that's when she found them, right? So if you were on the couch, buddy, number one, the girlfriend would have seen you. They would have seen you looking in the windows when the friends of the family and a family member went to the house. You would have heard them banging on your door. Doesn't make sense, right? But that's what he's saying. Short time later, he went upstairs to bed, leaving the doors unlocked. Who in today's society leaves their doors unlocked? But this is now another piece of the puzzle that they're throwing in there when the sleuths and people like myself are saying, like, wait a minute, if you went to bed and they weren't there, how did their stuff get back in the apartment or into the house, right? So now he's saying that he left the doors unlocked and he went upstairs to bed. Well, wait a minute, you said you were on the couch. And he says that later. He was on the couch. The three men, he says, then returned to the property at some stage and went outside. Well, wait a minute. If you crashed on the couch and then a short time later, you go upstairs to bed and you leave the door unlocked, the three men, he says, then returned. How would you know they returned if you were now upstairs in a bedroom? And at some stage went outside. How do you know that if you were sleeping? Because you have been maintaining that you slept for 2 days straight. Then your lawyer said you were in and out sporadically. Like, what is it? How the police don't see that there's something up here, I don't know. I don't get it. Jennifer Fleming says, treat situations at the worst case scenarios until proven otherwise. Exactly. But even in his comments right here, he claims he said goodbye to his friends, two of them who he'd known. Remember when he said he walked them to the door and locked the door? He went to bed. Now he's saying that he crashed on the couch. Then a short time later, he went upstairs to bed, leaving doors unlocked. Then he says they returned to the property at some stage and went outside. Why would they come in just to go back outside? Why would you leave your door unlocked after you said you'd already walked them to the door, locked the door, and said goodbye to them? Nothing is making sense. The fifth man, who we know now as Alex, stressed that it's absolutely not true. Okay? This guy here is Alex. Let me just see, make sure that you guys can see. This guy right here is Alex. Okay. Let me just see here. I got to get back to, okay, where I was. So this is Alex. So Alex stressed that it is absolutely not true that he was the last person to see the three men alive. Okay? Because his attorney, Andrew, said his client arrived at Willis's house at 7 p.m. The other guys, the other three, had been there since 3 in the afternoon, right? And they were all hanging out until midnight. The 4 other men were watching Jeopardy when he left. So Jordan, David, Ricky, and Clayton, he said, were all watching Jeopardy around midnight when he left. But this is what I don't get. Jordan says that he walked everybody to the door. He never even mentions Alex. You see how sketchy this is? Let me just see down. And here's the backyard. The girlfriend broke in through the back of the house. So this is something else I find odd. Hello, Irene. Hello, Spunky. The girlfriend, it says we're going to see that in a bit, she broke in through the back. They said basement. I guess they consider this level here the basement because I don't see any basement here. I think this is on a slab. But when you look at the front of the house here, there's a screen right here that is off on the front of the house. Why is that screen off? Somebody else had zoomed in on this window upstairs and it looks like something red in the corner of the window up here also. I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to start speculating. But this to me is odd. If she said she broke in through the back part of the house, which is here, she could have even went in through this doggy door, depending on how big she is, right? I know the guys would not fit through that doggy door. But the screen is off here. So it's interesting when they say basement. So let's just scroll down to what they say next. The lawyer also said on Tuesday, the day after, so on the Monday, the 5th man texts Jordan Willis. He sent this after Clayton McGeeney's fiancée and from Ricky Johnson's mother had got in touch with him asking about their loved ones. Okay, so now he's going to go in and he's going to say, look at, I've got this thing on my phone that if somebody isn't in my contact list, it just goes to some 000 thing. And they're like, it's almost like a spam blocker type thing. So he didn't see all those. Well, wait a minute. I do know about a program like that he's talking about. But Alex would have been in his phone. So Alex would have came up on his phone. What that program does is block spam and stuff or people that aren't saved in your phone or in your contacts list. So Alex, his number should have come up. And if you're sleeping on the couch, how do you not hear people banging on the door, banging on the windows, trying to get your attention? You don't hear the fiance break in. She doesn't see you. You don't see her, but like 10 minutes later, you can hear the cops at the door. It just doesn't make sense. This contradicts what Willis' attorney has said on multiple occasions. He said that his client only received messages on Facebook Messenger, not text messages or calls. And how they explained that away was by this, right, TK Sass. And hello, TK Sass and Gina, robocalls. It kind of like blocks out the numbers that are to try and block spam, whatever. But the bottom line is Alex's number would have been in Jordan's phone, so it would have shown. He says he didn't get any text messages or calls. He's lying. He is lying. Because maybe the men's friends calling and parents or other family members. Maybe Jordan didn't have their numbers saved in his phone. So yes, they would come up as 0000000, like as blocked or just sent to spam or something. But Alex's would have. They were all friends, all of them. They went to games and everything together. They were all friends, right? For 2 days, the families of the victims say they visited Willis's home. If you were on the couch, you would have heard them because you surely heard the police. Called him and sent him Facebook messages asking where they were, and he didn't respond. Eventually, the fiancée of one of the men broke into the house through the basement and found the first body in the backyard. So, what I find weird is if this is classified as the basement, she couldn't have gone in through the back because she would have seen the bodies right away. So maybe this is from her breaking in. Maybe this is what she classifies as the basement because this is an upper level. So maybe this is where she got in because the screen is off the window. From what I can see, you guys, there is no basement here. Look at, even looking at the front of the house, there's no windows below this. It looks like it's sitting on a slab. Like even in the front, see, there's no windows at ground level or below. Usually if you have a basement, part of your basement's above ground here. So I think she's classifying this as the basement, and I think that this is the window she broke into. So let's go back down. Eventually, the fiancé, one of the men, broke into the house through the basement and found the first body in the backyard. She then called police, who arrived to find Willis in his underwear holding a wine glass. His attorney maintains that he did nothing wrong and he's cooperated with the police. Okay. The family members are going nuts. But also, Jordan's family is speaking out and is also saying he had nothing to hide. He went to the police and spoke at police station and spoke with officers without a lawyer, and he allowed them to search his home. Well, he had 2 days to get rid of and clean up things, right? That's why he wasn't answering the door. That's why he wasn't answering his phone. He needed time. He needed time to get rid of any evidence of whatever actually happened at this place. He says he's slamming internet sleuths who are assuming that he's to blame, calling speculation unfair. Well, it's not unfair when your story keeps changing and it doesn't make sense, right? So the next article we're going to look at is this one here. So here's where he says that Jordan's lawyer told News Nation phone records can prove Willis never sent any text messages during the time frame, indicating he hadn't checked his phone. That doesn't mean shit. Just because he didn't send any text messages or use his phone, like to make phone calls and stuff, doesn't mean that he didn't see what was on his phone. I know my phone, when somebody sends a text message or anything like that, I can pull down from the top of my screen and see basically what the message you're saying without even opening the messages. They still look like they've gone unread. But you get a notification across the top of the phone. If you pull down on that, you can see almost all of the message, unless it's a huge message. You can see a lot of the message, if not all of it. So he's full of shit, and that does not prove anything, right? Willis denied any wrongdoing and is not facing any charges. He told the police the men froze to death in his backyard while he slept inside with music and a fan on, which prevented him from hearing their cries for help. Okay, I want to ask you guys something. Okay? What do you see wrong with that last part I read? Willis denies any wrongdoing and has not faced any charges. He told police the men froze to death in his backyard while he slept inside with his music and fan on, which prevented him from hearing the cries for help. I need somebody to tell me right now, what do you see wrong with that statement? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee while I'm waiting. I got a lot of smart people in here. What do you guys see there? Let me know in the chat. What's wrong with that? Yafo says, correct. He needed time to clean up. What led to this event? He claimed he slept. Well, this is true, Karen, but I don't see any mention in this about going to the bathroom, but so that's not what we're talking about. Exactly. Thank you, Jersey. How do you know they were crying for help if you couldn't hear them crying for help? And how do you know that they were crying for help while you were sleeping? Like, how do you know this? Right? Although we didn't know what happened. Exactly, Jennifer. How do you know they were crying for help if you couldn't hear them? Okay. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next one here. So this is another one from the Daily Mail. Jordan Willis, 38, says he had no idea how his friends died and was sleeping. Fifth friend said the deceased men were still alive at midnight on January 7th. Families say they may have taken drugs, but medical examiner is not confirmed. He has moved out of the home and deleted all his social media. Okay, but there's some stuff in here that we need to go over. This is where he says he waved his friends off and then crashed on the couch and then went to bed, but left the door open. And that, how do you know that your friends came back in and went outside if you were upstairs sleeping? But then he claims the men left at 2 a.m. What? How do you know all this if you're sleeping, right? Remember when he said he crashed on the couch and then he got up later. He went up because they were already gone. He went upstairs, but before he went upstairs, you know, he left the door unlocked. He went upstairs and went to sleep, but the guys came back later on and went outside. How do you know that, right? But then he claims that the men left after 2 a.m., but then claims they had to have returned after that and after he went to bed, and he said he left his doors unlocked. Let's get into this. Mysterious fifth friend who was in the home were the three Kansas. I'm sorry for that noise, you guys. I got an idiot that lives across the street that has decided he's going to go out on this four-wheeler and rip up and down the streets with no exhaust on it, which is totally illegal. But anyway, it's irritating. Okay, so died in bizarre circumstances on January 7th, has spoken out anonymously to insist the men were still alive and awake, hanging out with the horse, Jordan, when he left. On January 9th, the bodies, okay, this is before they named Alex, okay? Alex told Fox 4 Kansas, which did not name him, but I just did, that when he left the house at midnight, all of the men were still alive. Willis's attorney claims he waved the three men off, then crashed. So this is a different story. On the couch, going upstairs to his bedroom sometime later. The attorney also claims the men left at 2 a.m. Wait a minute. You just said Willis' attorney claims he waved the three men off, then crashed on the couch, going upstairs to his bedroom sometime later. The attorney also claims the men left at 2 a.m. What? It doesn't make any sense. He claims the three friends must have returned to the home while he was sleeping to hang out and at some stage gone into the backyard despite the frigid 32 Fahrenheit weather. For 2 days, the families of the victims said they visited Willis's home, called him and sent him Facebook messages asking where they were, and he didn't respond. Eventually, the fiancée of one of the men broke into the house through the basement and found the first body in the backyard. She called police. His attorney maintains that he did nothing wrong and has cooperated. He says he has nothing to hide. He went to the police station, blah, 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 and allowed them in the house. He also bought tickets for them to go to the next Chief game. Well, he may have done that before whatever happened. He slammed in her tooth. Okay. And then the lawyer refused to answer questions about whether the men were using drugs. That's very telling. Like, he also says that he had gotten up and moved around and this and that, and you have to get up in 2 days and go to the bathroom and get something to eat. And he does say that he left the house and came back in. You would have seen their stuff still there, their wallet, their phones, a coat, their cars. But he insists he spent the next 2 days in his home, not thinking anything of the fact that his friends' cars were still outside, and only learned they had died when the fiancée of one of the men broke into the house on January 9th in hopes of finding him. He's full of crap. Because if we go by what his previous statement was, is he didn't even hear her go into the house. He didn't wake up until the police knocked on the door. Police weren't called until after the girlfriend was running around the house screaming her boyfriend's name and then found them outside in the back. He still didn't wake up to that. Right? He believes that after he waved the men off on January 7th, they returned while he was asleep to hang out. This is going against what he just said up here. He claims the three friends must have returned to the home while he was sleeping to hang out. But you didn't say that up here. Right? He waved them off. It doesn't make any sense. I can't think with this idiot across the street. See, when the fiancé broke in on January 9th and found the first body, she called police. Officer arrived to find Willis in his underwear with an empty glass of wine in hand, according to the victims' families. 2 other bodies were then found in the backyard. So this is him. And I don't know who that is, with some relative. This is Jordan. So one of the men were found I showed you pictures where there was patio furniture. One was found here sitting up in a chair, and the other ones were found in the backyard. The brothers have said frozen in dirt. So I'm assuming it's in one of these raised flower beds. And I believe this is the window she broke in because the screen's off. So he's now moved out of the property and deleted all his social media accounts amid a swell of public interest in the man's death. Willis' attorney said he did not hear the victim's loved ones banging on his door because he sleeps with headphones and a fan. So it just doesn't make sense. Didn't see any messages until after police showed up. He does not know how the men died, and said he never suggested that they froze to death. But that's what the police said he said. He goes on to say he's an accomplished scientist who researched into COVID and HIV, has been praised in the medical world. Well, that doesn't mean anything. There's no set, how can I say this, type of person that does this. We've seen millionaires do this. We've seen police officers take people's lives outside of their line of work. We've seen judges take people's lives and not in a courtroom. You know what I mean? So if he thinks that was going to make him look better or less guilty, it didn't. He has 2 pit bull mixes, Sadie and Daisy. Now, we know that it was said that his dogs were at his dad's. The lawyer here is saying that he had 2 pit bull mixes. But in another interview with the father said he had 1 dog and Jordan had another dog. But Jordan's dog is the one that he used as like a service dog. That's why that dog was there and not at Jordan's. I do have a picture of the father. Here's the father. And he's saying that one of the dogs belonged to him and the other one was more of a service dog. So that's why he had Jordan's dog there. So he conducts data analysis and interpretation for the vaccine trials. He also compared the search for an effective HIV vaccine to COVID vaccine research. So there's Ricky Johnson. There's David Harrington. And this is Clayton McGeeney. So in the intro to the section to his now deleted Facebook page, Willis wrote, "Walking the line to be the funniest guy in the room and a full-on mental breakdown." So did he have some mental health issues? So, and while on another social platform, which have all been removed now, Willis had described himself saying, "Self-proclaimed man about town." Wow. There are no specific threats or concern for the surrounding community at this time. Well, if this is a homicide, then there is, right? And you don't know if it is or it isn't because you're not investigating as such. So the loved ones of the men are whoever speaking out to demand answers. The police are not doing anything to solve a mystery of her son's passing and called for the owner of the home to be at least investigated. Jonathan's brother, Jonathan Price, said that he heard the owner of the home had animals that would need to go outside and claimed the city didn't get enough snow to submerge the men for them to be hidden for days. There's many different things that don't add up. We just don't understand how somebody would at least be investigated in any way. A lot of people are saying that there was plans for him to move out, that it was a move out party. No, it wasn't. It was a get together to watch the game. He wasn't planning on moving out of the house. The only reason he moved out was for his own safety because of the media attention that this was all getting. He was in fear. Okay, so Price said he didn't want to speculate over his brother's death, but said the circumstances don't make sense to him at all. My brother was a smart man, and there's no way that he would just freeze to death. Freezing to death is not a cause of death that I would accept. Johnson's father raised the possibility of legal action, telling KSHB that he has retained an attorney and is waiting for a search warrant to be issued on the home. This guy outside is driving me crazy, you guys. I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is this one. So this is where they had said that this is who it was, Alex Weimer. So this is when they revealed him. Weimerly is a high school pal of the victims, Clayton, David, and Ricky. Watch party host Jordan Willis has claimed to have no knowledge of what happened, and Weimerly says he left at midnight after the football game. So this is him just again saying that he's a high school pal of the victims whose bodies were discovered 2 days after the gathering on January 7th, but he left at midnight. He shortens his last name to Lee, so Alex Lee is the fan on the far left of the photo. This is also him here. So that's him right here in my thumbnail. I pointed to him. This is him. And you can see he hangs out with these guys, right? And he also knows Jordan. So it's like Jordan would have had his phone number in his phone, and his phone would have showed up when he was calling. This again, he's saying he waved them off at 2 a.m. before sleeping on the couch and spending the next 2 days inside the house not thinking. So now you're saying you waved them off at 2 a.m., but then you're saying that they came back in at 2 a.m. and that when you went to bed, you left your door unlocked. But before you said, when he said this before, when the lawyer said he waved goodbye to them, locked the door, and went up to bed. But now he's saying he waved them off at 2 a.m. and left the door unlocked. So it's not making any sense. And he's trying to backtrack and cover the mistakes that he had said. Lee's social media contains many photos of him with Harrington, McGeeney, and Johnson, including one where he's in a living room with the latter two, all dressed in Chiefs regalia, in another apparent watch party. The fifth man, who maintains his close friendships with the victims and Willis, see? Close friendships. So he would have been on Jordan's phone, okay? And he's maintained close relationships with them. From Hill Park School, has a rap sheet that includes drug offenses. Now, I did see this guy's rap sheet, and it's from a while back, like more than 5 years ago. So I don't know. Like, everybody has done crazy things. Yes, he works from home, apparently, this Jordan. But I mean, I know people in their late teens, early 20s do a lot of crazy things, get caught with weed before it's legal. Like a lot of, well, I know in Canada it's legal. I know in some states it's legal now. So before it was legal, I know people that are lawyers that got charged back in the day with carrying weed. You know what I mean? So I don't know the in-depth of that. And it was so long ago, I don't know if that would have any bearing right now, unless he was still into some kind of criminal behavior, which we don't know. See, it says his criminal record reveals 3 drug incidences in 2005. That's almost 20 years ago, when he was 19. He pleaded guilty to 2 charges of unlawful use of paraphernalia and one of possessing up to 35 grams of marijuana. I don't think that's anything that's going to kill somebody. Seven years later, while living in Aspen, he was charged with a felony for tampering with drug evidence after another man was arrested at a nightclub. Apparently, that guy had dropped something and Alex picked it up, so it wouldn't be found. Does that mean that he's this high-profile druggie or drug? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. I think he picked that up off the phone to try and save his friend from being caught with it when he was being arrested. Lee was accused of grabbing the 2 bags of ecstasy that were dropped on the venue's floor when the accused dealer was being seized by police. So when he was being arrested. He told officers he swallowed the contents of one bag and tried to hide the other. But it wasn't his. You know, I'm not making excuses for this guy. What he did was wrong, and he was charged accordingly. But it wasn't even him that had those on him. He was trying to help out his friend. Right? So let's call it what it is, you guys. Now, where'd that screen go? There's no screen in this picture now. It's not even on the window. You can tell it's on the window here, but it's not on the window here. So somebody took that screen. So maybe they took it as evidence. I don't know. This is him again, Alex. So he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor, counts as part of a plea deal and was given 2 years of unsupervised probation. And even the judge said, I think you're learning a lesson the very hard way. Okay, so this is when they reveal the identity of the heartbroken fiancée who raised the alarm at the Willis's house after her construction worker partner, Clayton McGeeney, failed to come home. April Mahoney, 34, desperately broke into the property in a quiet tree-lined street that Tuesday night after Willis had not responded to calls and visits from anxious family members. She was confronted with the horror of finding a man, which we know now as David Harrington, on the back porch, sitting up, dead on the outside porch. She called police, and officers discovered her fiancé and Johnson dead in the backyard. Willis answered the door to cops in his underwear and clutching a wine glass. Mahoney confirmed to Daily Mail that she was previously unidentified fiancé, but said she was too traumatized to talk about what she discovered and her partner. So they were together for 12 years. And Clayton's Uncle Jimmy McGeeney, they were devoted to each other. Clayton was living his best life. He had a few problems in his early years, but he'd sorted them all out and was living life to the full. He was truly a good example to everyone. He'd get up early just to see the sunrise across the lake. So see that? He'd get up early just to see the sunrise across the lake. Like, the guy's car is still outside, and you know he works. Didn't that spark? His keys are on the table with his wallet. Didn't that spark anything in your brain, Jordan? See what I mean? But Kansas City police insist the deaths are not being treated as homicides. Willis allowed his home to be searched, and he went to be interviewed without a lawyer. However, Clayton McGeeney's construction boss, Uncle Jim, 70 years old, trashed Willis's version of events. In a message to the research scientist, he blasted, "Man up, dude, just man up. You know what happened at that house with your so-called 3 buddies that you've known since high school. And it's going to be found out. So come forward, let us know what happened. Let the families, let the city, let people know what happened. If you did or did not do anything that caused their deaths. Don't just hide. Don't move away from your house or whatever you may have done to cover up your mistake or whatever. If somebody died in my house, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to run. I'm going to find out what happened if you're innocent. If I had 3 friends who died in my backyard, I definitely want to find out how they died, what happened to my best buddies. Something is going on. Something's getting covered up." The uncle conceded drug taking could have been a factor. It can't be ruled out. It's absolutely a possibility, he said, because of their age group. I would leave it in the picture, but Clayton wasn't even a heavy drinker. He also ridiculed early speculation that the trio froze to death, although records do indicate temperatures below freezing. I think they were at 32. I don't know if that's freezing because we go by Celsius. I do not believe they froze to death. It wasn't cold enough. At 2 a.m. on Monday, they were alive. Tuesday, the temperature wasn't low enough for them to freeze to death. Yet the police told family members that they had to wait for the bodies to thaw out before they could do an autopsy. Remember I said that in one of my last lives, you guys? The bodies couldn't possibly have been frozen like solid, like a steak in your freezer in that many hours. So you're looking at 2 a.m. Monday to 10 p.m. Tuesday. McGeeney attacked the police response to the baffling deaths, comparing reaction he believes would happen if animals had been discovered dead instead of 3 healthy men. Yes. And I know here too, like any harm to an animal, you're going to jail. You know what I mean? And he's saying, like, what if this was like a bunch of dogs found dead in the backyard? There would have been a more thorough and different kind of investigation, right? If 3 dead dogs were found at somebody's backyard, somebody's going to get in trouble. Yeah, here you're going to jail. Somebody's going to be arrested before the police leave. They're all going to be called. They're going to call in animal control. They're going to do all this stuff. And someone would have gone to jail that day, and the police would say, "Oh, there's something going on here. How did the dogs die?" But they're not doing that with these 3 men, right? Again, the lawyer for Jordan is saying he's got nothing to hide. He had nothing to do with their deaths. The attorney said Willis did not hear the victim's loved ones banging on his door because he sleeps wearing headphones and has a fan on. He did not see an anxious face. Okay, so you fell asleep on the couch. So what'd you do? Did you bring your headphones? They're saying headphones. I thought it was earbuds. So your headphones, is it connected to your phone? Is it connected to a stereo system? What's it connected to? What was coming through the headphones and from where? That's a question I want answered. Was it off of a TV? Was it off of a stereo? Was it off of a mobile device? How were you getting the music coming through the headphones? That's one thing I want to know. Second thing I want to know is what kind of fan? And did you carry this fan around with you? And how did you not hear everybody banging on the door? And this is where they're saying the 5th man also got the attorney, right? So to me, he says he waves his friends off and he crashed on the couch and then went up to bed, but then claims the men left at 2 a.m., then claims they had returned at 2 a.m. He went to bed. He said he had left his doors unlocked. He claims he only found out they had died when the fiancée broke in. No, that's not when he said he found out. He said he found out when the police showed up. So she's running through the house screaming and hollering and everything else, and you didn't even hear that, but you hear the cops on the door. Because that's when he said he didn't know that anything had happened until the cops showed up. But then in another statement, he's saying that he found out when the fiancé came. No, because you said you didn't hear the fiancé. You never mentioned it. And she never mentioned seeing you. So you're a liar. So the tests are being carried out. This is the toxicology. Okay. The toxicology tests are being carried out at the Frontier Forensics Midwest. This is a privately owned forensic and autopsy facility that provides services for authorities in Kansas and Missouri. One of the investigators said that it takes 6 to 8 weeks, and it's been less than 2. And they again saying here, first and foremost, this case is 100% not being investigated as a homicide. So, let me just see what else I got here. Okay, I think it's this one here. Girlfriend of dead Kansas City Chiefs fan says he was murdered. So I'm not going to read through all this again. I'm just going to read the parts that we haven't seen yet. Lori Cruz, Harrington's, and you know what? On Twitter, I called them out on this. Get this? Lori Cruz, Harrington's boyfriend of 17 years. So David Harrington's boyfriend of 17 years, Lori Cruz. What? Lori Cruz is not a male. Lori Cruz is a female. But you're saying Lori Cruz, comma, Harrington's boyfriend of 17 years? I hate stuff like this, you guys. Don't put stuff out there without proofreading. Said she, well, they got that right. She believes the 3 men were killed by someone else. David was murdered, Cruz told News Nation. Those 3 guys were murdered. Cruz did not elaborate on the factual basis for her claim that Harrington was murdered, except to say that he may have been caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. She said she does not know what's going to come up as the investigation unfolds and denied speculation that Harrington was a drug addict. A lot of people were saying that David Harrington was a drug addict. He's not. Okay? In her interview, Cruz said of Harrington, he was a good guy, very good guy. He went to church with us. He coached my son's baseball team. Willis, through lawyer John Percierno, whatever, said he was sleeping on the couch next to a loud fan wearing noise-canceling headphones for 2 days. See this? The lawyer of Jordan Willis said he was sleeping on a couch next to a loud fan and wearing noise-canceling headphones for 2 days. Wait a minute. You said he slept there for a while and then went upstairs and left his doors unlocked. But you also said that he waved goodbye to them at 2 a.m. Then in another interview, you said they came back at 2 a.m. and went outside. And which none of that you would know if you were sleeping. But here he's saying he's on a couch for 2 days. If you're on that couch, you would have seen your friend's stuff. You would have had to get up to go to the bathroom. You would have heard the people knocking right there at your front door. The living room's in the front. And you would have heard the fiance breaking in your house and screaming, and she would have seen you, which she didn't see if you were on the couch. So lies. Broke through the property and called police upon finding the body. Not only the whole country is accusing him of murdering his friends without factual details, well, you've given us more than enough to think that he is involved or any charge at this time. But he also lost 3 close friends and he's mourning. He's upset that he can't go to the funerals and stuff. Right? So this is the latest that's come out, you guys. Or found, okay, let's see what he's saying now. Okay, so now what he's saying, Jordan is finally speaking. Okay? And he's saying, Jordan Willis, the Kansas City Chiefs fan, whose 3 friends were found dead in his backyard earlier this month, is devastated by the loss of his pals and very depressed as people speculate about the case, according to a source close to his family. Not only is the whole country accusing him of murdering his friends without factual details, evidence, or any charges at this time, but he also lost 3 friends. He didn't get to say goodbye or go to their funerals due to the circumstances of these wild speculations and accusations. Well, the families think you're involved too. No one seems to be willing to wait for the results of the toxicology report or wait for any other facts from the police department from a case that is still under investigation to make these speculations. Well, you're the one that put the spotlight on Jordan by coming out and saying all this crap and bull and changing the story. He waved goodbye to his friends. No, he was sleeping on the couch. No, he went upstairs. No, he locked his door. No, he left his door unlocked. Then they came, oh yes, but they left at 2 a.m. But no, they came back at 2 a.m. while he was sleeping because he left his doors unlocked, and they went outside and they froze to death. How would you know any of that? How would you also claim that the reason that you couldn't hear them crying for help was because you had your earbuds and fan going? How do you know they were crying for help? Right? Too many things here are not adding up. How could you not hear that fiance going through that house, breaking into your house, screaming for her fiance? Right? So a source from the Willis family, which is Jordan, they're saying a source said Willis's family learned 3 people died on his property when local news media contacted them. Initially, they said the family didn't know if Willis was among the fatalities. The source also disputed claims that Willis told people his friends froze to death in his yard, but he did say that, and his lawyer even said he said it. And now his lawyer is saying he didn't say it. So now what they're saying is what was missing from that story was context. He never once said that his friends froze to death to anyone, but they did. He did. So the fiance, one of the men who had reportedly made attempts to reach Willis via phone and at his door, broke in through the back of the property. No, she didn't. This is wrong. If she would have broke in through the back, here's a picture of it. So one of the men were found in one of these chairs. If she would have broke in through the back of the property, she would have already seen the bodies. She wouldn't have had to break into the house. I believe she broke in through the front. Because it says she broke in through the back of the property. They said through a basement window. Well, the only window with the screen off is in the front of the house. And she wouldn't have even had to break in the house if it was in the back, because she would have seen them here. I believe that 2 of the men were here and 1 was here. So was somebody planning on trying to bury them in these beds? Or I don't know. But the phone started blowing up. So now he just, okay, I'm just going to leave them out there and say they went out there and froze to death. Was he planning at some point of maybe burying them? Or whoever did this planning on burying them? So I don't know. Okay, so then Willis's attorney, John, has said his client was asleep for a lot of the time period. Here again, he's this guy doesn't know when to shut up. He was asleep for a lot of the time period between allegedly escorting his friends out of his home and answering the door for Kansas City police after his friends' bodies were found behind his house. So how could he be asleep, but moving from downstairs to upstairs, back to downstairs, upstairs, whatever? And the lawyer had said he had left sporadically. He'd gone in and out. Then he said, well, I didn't mean in and out of the house. I meant in and out of his bedroom. Well, it doesn't matter what you were going in and out of. You would have seen your buddies. Did you see the windows in this house? It was all windows. Tons of windows. You would have seen your buddy's stuff there and their cars out front, minimum. So, I mean, it's just a bunch of bull. So then the lawyer said he amended earlier claims that Willis only received one Facebook message in that period in the interview with Chris Como earlier this week, saying his clients had a phone app that blocked unrecognized numbers. Okay, how do you explain Alex? How do you explain Alex? Because Alex was his buddy. Alex wasn't an unrecognized number. Alex's number would have been in his phone, so it would have showed up. Ding, 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 ding. Willis had several incoming but no outgoing text messages from concerned friends and family members. Of course, he didn't reply to them. He needed to clean up. So even if he didn't see the other family members' messages or calls or anything, if this robo thing would have blocked them all and just put 000s, I get it. But what about Alex's? Alex was your friend and he was in your, he would have been saved in your phone. So his name would have showed up. Willis had no idea his friends were still on his property. I thought you said that they came back at 2 a.m. and then went outside. Just doesn't make sense. They're still saying, Kansas City Police Department still saying to Fox News that there's digital no foul play is suspected in this case is 100% not being investigated as a homicide. Well, there's something wrong with Kansas City Police. So Johnson and Harrington's family members have accused Willis of playing an active role in the deaths, citing discrepancies in his attorney's claims and his career as a scientist with the International Lab here. Okay. The mad scientist agenda the lawyer says the mad scientist agenda is absolutely ridiculous. The source close to the Willis family said, oh, it's a source. The fact that he is a scientist is irrelevant. No, it ain't. He would know what chemicals leave the body, how quick they leave the body, what are traceable, what aren't traceable. He would know all of that. So don't say it's not relevant. It's irrelevant. It's very relevant. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Kat, for being a member. 34 months. Wow. Lovergoat says, no proof they died outside, no proof they were alive at midnight. There is proof that they were alive at midnight by the fifth friend. The fifth friend said when he left around midnight, they were all of them were alive. The four of them were alive. Jordan, David, Ricky, and Clayton were all there watching Jeopardy and alive. Exactly. If you're telling the truth, the story would never change if you're telling the truth. Okay, so what's probably important to note, and maybe the reason why these families are saying they don't know Jordan. Jordan went to high school with several of these guys. After college, he spent probably close to 10 years in Nashville and San Diego doing his graduate and postdoctorate work. He moved back to KC 4 or 5 years ago and at some point reconnected with his high school friends. He should have stayed the hell away. And apparently the 3 deceased friends were at his house a lot. One of the sources said, and 4 were planning to go to the Chiefs game on January 13 with tickets Willis had bought, which wasn't the first game he'd taken them to this season. That's not true. I don't think that's true at all. So here it is. Willis has one dog and his father owns another dog. And it was typical for the dogs to spend the majority of the time at Willis's father's home, according to the source, who said his father suffers from, it's not dementia, it's Alzheimer's disease. Willis's dog is somewhat of a therapy dog for his father. So that's why Jordan would bring his dog over there, because I guess Jordan's dog was more of a therapy dog than his father's own dog. But it's not dementia he has, it's Alzheimer's. The source, okay. His 3 deceased friends were at his house a lot, the source said, and the 4 were planning to go to the Chiefs game January 13 with tickets Willis had bought. So I'm assuming there's 4. And that wasn't the first time he bought everybody tickets. So I'm assuming that it was David, Ricky, Clayton, because he said, and the 4 were planning to go to the game on January 13th with tickets Willis had bought. So this guy do something because he was just fed up? Do you think that these guys were just mooching off him or something? I don't know. But something... Alzheimer's and dementia are 2 very different things. Okay, the source also addressed questions from the victims' families about how Willis could have stayed in his house for 2 days without letting his dogs outside and without those dogs finding his friends' bodies. Willis has one dog. Okay, we already read that. It's like a therapy dog. So that's why the dog wasn't there, apparently. The source confirmed that Willis had moved out of his home on Northwest 83rd Terrace in Kansas City, which he had moved into about 6 months earlier to live closer to his father and help with his care. But that move out of 83rd Terrace Brook took place after detectives completed their search of the home, the source said, and should not be interpreted as alarming or suspicious. So he moved into that house to be closer to his dad so he could help take care of his dad. People are saying, no, it was a move-out party. It wasn't even a Chiefs game party that they got to. No. It was not a move-out party that these guys had all gone to. It was a Chiefs game party. And he had no intentions of moving out of the house until this happened. His house was all over the news, the source said. Multiple people driving by every day. People are threatening him on the internet, and everyone knows where the house is thanks to the news coverage. After the police cleared the house and his story became public, Jordan moved out as his privacy and safety were at risk. That's why he moved out. There were no plans prior for him to ever move out of that house. He had just moved there to be closer to his dad. But the reason he moved out was because he felt his privacy and safety was at risk. And I guess these are friends of Willis, Jordan Willis, that characterized Willis as a good guy who loves his friends. It's awful. I think people are afraid to speak up for him because of how vicious people are with these speculations, the source said. So that's what's going on, you guys. It's just like everything keeps changing. Now, what I want to let you guys know is what I find odd, very odd, because we've heard nothing more about this. Do you remember the lawyer coming out, Jordan's lawyer coming out and saying, okay, well, yeah, there was this 5th guy, Alex, but there were also others that were there. We have heard zilch about these others that were there. Who are these others? I want to know, and that's what I've been looking for, you guys. Who are these others? Because now there's not only Jordan, David, Ricky, Clayton, and Alex. Apparently, from what that lawyer said, and I think that was a slip up, he says there's also others that were there. So where are they? Who are they? I want to know about them. I want to know about them. Who were they? Is that even true? Is that just something else that the lawyer is making up because the 5th person came forward? Is this just another distraction by this lawyer? Because I do feel the lawyer has given a lot of different accounts and things like that as just causing chaos and a distraction. But it's sinking, at least in the court of public opinion. He's only making his client look as guilty as sin. Right? I wouldn't even want to attempt to do a timeline on this because he said, if you guys remember in the beginning, he said that they watched the game, and then he went to bed, and his friends were still awake in his living room partying it up. That was one of the very first statements. Have you forgotten? But the fifth friend says, no, they were all awake until midnight. Well, if you went to sleep after the game and your friends were still there, how did you go to sleep on the couch if they were on it? Because from what is being said, there wasn't that much furniture in the house. So how can you go to sleep on the couch if your friends were still there? But then you say you walked them to the door and said goodbye, and you locked the door and went to bed. You didn't say you went to the couch. That was the next story. Then it was, I just can't even keep up with the stories anymore. The stories just change and change and change. And this lawyer is fandangling all this information he's giving out as new information is coming out about what can actually be proven by somebody else that was there. So then he's changing his story. Well, I left the door open and they came in after 2 a.m. and then went outside. How do you know that? And how do you know that they were crying out for help if you had your headphones on and a big fan on and you couldn't hear people banging down your door or breaking into your house? But how do you know they were crying for help? If you couldn't hear anything else, how could you hear that? You know what I mean? It's just like, how do you know they were crying for help? So that's what I got for right now, you guys. Jordan and Alex have been friends since school. It's in the interviews. They all hung out together since school. So no, and it's not their first. From what I just read, and I just read that here, that they had gathered a few times. It's not the first time that they had gathered at this house. Where was it? There. His three deceased friends were at his house a lot, the source said. A lot. So they were there a lot. So that answers your question that you just asked. Gracie just asked, is this the first party? No, I just read that. They were there a lot. So that's what I got for you guys. We're going to wrap it up. I'm going to keep my eye on it. There's some other things that I need to do. I need to get a couple of reads here done. I'm waiting on one from a family member. I can't really speak on that one yet. I'm waiting to hear back from a girl that's missing her father. I'm waiting to hear back from him. But I also promised, a lot of people on my Twitter and Facebook have been asking for, even on here on YouTube, asking for an updated read regarding the Michael Vaughn. So I'm going to do that read. A lot of people want me to do an update on Summer Wells. I'm going to get to what I can get to, you guys. Okay, I can't make any promises. I do need a day this week. I'm going to be going into the States, so I'm going stateside. As you guys know, I live in Canada, so I'm going to be going stateside for a day this week. So I've got to find a day to do that. And try and get these reads done. I'm also trying to get caught up on private reads that I have. I have a list of them sitting there waiting to be contacted to have their private reads done. And I'm only one person, you guys. So I will get back to answering things the best I can. I do try to read all the comments. So if you do have questions, you can leave them there. Also, you guys, if you want to give super chats, every $10 super chat gets you entered into the draw for Valentine's Day. I've got a big basket worth over $100 of items inside the basket that I will be doing a live draw here on the channel February 14th. So you guys can see all the names being put on the wheel and the wheel being spun and everything. It's all going to be right there for you guys to see. That's going to happen on February 14th. So even for the replay crew, there's a heart below every video that says super thanks. You can donate $10 there. If you donate 20, you get 2 entries. So that's only if you can. But everybody who does is going to get entered. I do have the names already written down who have done it up till today. So be rest assured your name will be on the wheel. You'll be able to see that on February 14th. So with that being said, you guys, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Please share this out and give the video a like. It really helps to support the channel, and it's all free to do. And I appreciate your insights. I appreciate your questions. It keeps everything moving, right? It keeps me on my toes. And there's always something new to learn. There's not one person on this earth that knows everything there is to know. So you guys help there also with pointing out things that I've missed and clarifying some things for me that I may have gotten wrong. So I want to thank you guys for that too. You guys are awesome. So thank you, mods, for being here. As always, you guys rock. Red fingernails. Let me get you written down first before we go. Red X fingernails. You get 2 entries. 2 entries for you. Like I said, $20. That's 2 entries. So you are on the list, you guys. I do have a list in my monetization on my creator tools. I will be able to see everybody who has done super chats and everything. I can take them all from there too. So if I do happen to click off and you're in the process of donating, or if you donate using the heart, the super thanks heart below every video, if you use that to donate and it's in the chat below the video, I will also see that. It comes up on my forms that I have for my creator support. So, and like I said, then be here on, it's going to be February 14th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern is when the draw is going to be. Eastern. So if you guys want to see the draw live, make sure you're there. You can get tickets for or entries into the draw right up until draw time. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go for now. And I'm going to end it like I always do. Please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Always be aware of your surroundings. I love you guys to the moon and back. Bye-bye for now.